It's all about graphing parabolas and absolute value equations. Yes, Kayla. You don't want to waste your extra credit? All right. How do we figure out our vertex? The first thing we have to do before we can graph this parabola is to figure out our vertex. Our vertex was decided by you need to listen. Our vertex was decided by our x value and our y value in our vertex form. Our x value, this x value of the vertex was always opposite.
So positive 5.
Yes. So this is going to be positive 5. Our y value was always the same. So this is going to be 4. So our vertex for this particular graph is 5, 4. Okay? We have to graph our vertex first, and then we're going to use our building numbers. An important part of this is that we know where our building numbers come from, whether or not they're positive or negative. This negative out in front tells me that my building numbers are what? Negative. Okay, so my building numbers again are 1, 3, and 5. Those are all going to be negative. So when I'm doing my building numbers, am I going to go up or am I going to go down? Down, right? Down would be negative, would indicate that we're going down. So this graph is going to open down. We know that because of this sign. Okay, the first things you need to look for: vertex and which way it's opening. Our domain is not something that's going to be on the final, but that was any real number, always. And our range was defined by our vertex and our values. So all of our numbers are going to be related to where we graph our vertex. All of the values that make this true would be less than or equal to because it opens down. If it opened up, it would be greater than or equal to. That's the only thing that changes. We're not going to have that on the final, but that's what that is. Axis of symmetry. What does symmetry mean again? Where it can fold. Exactly. So where that parabola folds in half, and it folds up right on top of itself, right? If what you have drawn, if you folded the piece of paper and it wouldn't fold on top of itself, you've graphed it wrong. Okay? The place that tells us where it would fold is what? Our x value. So our axis of symmetry is going to be x equals, and what's our x value? 5? 5. Okay? So then how do we graph this? We can't tell what our solutions are. I'm not looking for how many solutions there are. I'm not looking for 1, 2, or 0. Okay? I am looking for what exactly they are. At what point does my graph go through the x-axis? Okay? So I'm going to go to 5, 4. Go to 5, go to 4, put it out. That's my vertex. Right? We know that just from the equation. Write stuff down. We're on problem 1. What? All right. Write it down. At 5, 4, now I have to do my building numbers. So it's always over 1, and then in this case we're going which direction? Down. So over 1, down 1 to the right. Over 1, down 3 to the right. 1, 2, 3. Ooh, look, there's a solution. Over 1, down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Am I done graphing it? No. I just did the right side. Now I have to do the left side. I start at my vertex again, and I do exactly the same thing, except now I'm going to go to the left one instead of the right one. So left 1, down 1. Left 1, down 3. I don't even have to count that because they're going to be on the same level as my other point. Left 1, down 5. And then I'm going to draw my line. Drawing your line is a point on your exam. Make sure you draw your line. What are my solutions? Where did I cross? What's one of my solutions, Ruby? Your name's not Ruby, you're Nasir. Take that out. Ruby, what's...
Huh?
No, you're not. You're not even Nasir. You're Zayon. Take that out. Ruby! What's one of my solutions? Either one of these. What number did I go through? Not this. Right here's a solution, right here's a solution. What numbers are those? Did you graph it on yours? Well, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. And what's the other one? So I've got 3, 0, and I've got 7, 0. Sorry, Ruby doesn't mind. She can't see it anyway. Right? Yep. So my solutions are found where it crosses the x-axis. Okay? I'll scroll in a second later. You need to circle both of those. It would be best. That way I know you have a solution. Make sure you write them down in ordered pairs. So your points on your exam come from this. You need your vertex. You need your correct building numbers. If they need to be negative, they need to be negative on there. You need your axis of symmetry. You'll need to know if it opens down or up. And then the actual solutions. No 0, 1, or 2. I don't care about 0, 1, or 2. I want to know what the solutions are. When we learned 0, 1, and 2, it was just to help you know that you're going to have to find either 0 solution, 1 solution, or 2 solutions. When would I have a solution of 1? When would there only be 1 solution? When the Okay, is it the axis of symmetry, or what's the other word that we're looking for? The vertex. So both, really. The vertex, when the vertex is right on the x-axis, we would have only that single solution, but you would still write down what that solution is. Okay? We'll do one of those two. Questions on this? What? My building numbers are always, it's just a definition from, anytime we graph a parabola using vertex form, my building numbers are always 1, 3, and 5 as far as up and down. My over is always only 1. It's negative if this negative is out here. It's positive if there's no negative out there. It's just given. It's a rule that we have to know. Okay? There's only one time where it changes. Are you done with that, everybody? There's one time where it changes, and it would be the instance of here. Now there's a number in front. So now I'm going to take that 1, 3, and 5, and I'm going to multiply each of them by 2. More specifically, negative 2. I'm going to multiply this by negative 2. I'm going to multiply this by negative 2. So I'm going to have negative 2, negative 6, and negative 10. So whatever number this is out here changes my building numbers. So I'm going to go over 1 still, but then down 2. over 1 down 6, over 1 down 10. Okay? When I have this, everything that's on the outside, anything that's on the outside of this affects my building numbers only. Does not affect my vertex at all. Okay? Do you have any problems on the back of that, or is it just the 4 on the front? Okay. Good on those. I'm going to let you do the, so let's do this one, and then I'm going to let you do the other two on your own. Let's then move on to quadratic formula. What's my vertex for this one? Raise your hand. What's my x value going to be? -4 and 8. Why? Somebody else, why is it -4? The x value always has to turn to the opposite. We already did the building numbers, -2, -6, -10. We can open up or down? Down. Where's my axis of symmetry? This is negative. What's my axis of symmetry? X equals what? -4. That comes right from your vertex. You don't even have to think about it. This is always all real numbers. My y value is going to be less than because it's moving down. And what's your y value in your vertex? 8. So that is 8. So both of these come from vertex. Okay? Let's find out what our solutions are. So what's my vertex? -4, 8. -4, 8 is right there. And now I need to go down 2, down 6, down 10. So I go over 1, down 2, over 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do I even need to do the 10? I don't, but it would be easy because there's 10 on here. Over 1, down 2, don't have to count. What are my solutions? Say that louder, Amy.
0, -6, and 0.
Other way around. These are x values, so the numbers go first. -6, 0, 2, 0, -2, 0. See that? Please don't make this hard, okay? It is literally that. It's literally just finding what your vertex is and plugging in the things where they go. The hardest part is finding the vertex. You know that the x is opposite and the y is. So what would I write on my cheat sheet? I would do this example probably. I would write down I would write down the vertex, I would write opposite here, I would write same here. I wouldn't even worry about the numbers. I would circle this and write down next to it. And then I would probably put an arrow over to my building numbers so that it changes. That's what I would write on my thing. Okay? All right, questions? All right, let's move on to quadratic formula. So my solutions were -6, 0, -2, 0. All right, our next thing is the quadratic formula. You will be given the quadratic formula. You do not need to write it on your cheat sheet. You will be on the final exam. You do not need to waste the space to write down the quadratic formula. I would maybe make sure you remember the fact that that is called the opposite of B. So whatever your B is, you have to put the opposite number in. Right? With that said, what are my A, B, and C?
4, -12,
4, -12, and 9. I would say you should do that. I would do this on my final. That way, you know that you're plugging the right numbers in. You make sure that you're plugging a negative in where this b is, right? B squared is always going to be what sign in the answer? Everybody. Positive. B squared is always going to be positive. It doesn't matter what number's in there, your answer is always going to be positive. Why? Negative times a negative is a positive, exactly. Okay? Don't put a negative in there. It's going to mess you up. Cynthia, you got that? Brooklyn, you got that? Zeus, you got that? B squared is always positive. So here's what I just said. So that's the opposite. So as I do this for this specific numbers, I need to put the opposite of B. So Zayon just said B is already negative. So what's the opposite of negative 12? Positive 12. Make sure that you put your plus or minus sign in all your steps because you need to do both. But it makes it easier by using that sign. So it's 12 plus or minus. Then what's going here? Negative 12 squared minus 4 times 4 times 9. Do not forget about your 2a. It is essential that this line right here goes all the way across. Do not just put it underneath here like this. Don't just put it under here. This 8 is not just dividing that. It's dividing. So all of that has to be done before you can divide by 8. Dividing by 8 is the last thing you do. So you're not, make sure you use good order of operations. So I've got my 12 plus or minus, right? Then I've got my 144. Don't automatically put your minus sign here. Now go through and do this. This is a multiplication problem. So you're multiplying all of this together. Multiply all of that together. Negative 4 times 4 is negative 16. Negative 16 times 9 is negative 144. Fun. This minus sign came from my answer to that multiplication problem. So this multiplication problem defines this sign. I would write this on my notes right now. I would write all of that down. I would write this down. I would write that down because those are the little things you mess up on. I would also write down that right here, I need an 8. Okay? What's 144 minus 144? 0. So I've got, how many answers am I going to have here? 1, because 12 plus 0 divided by 8 is the same as 12 minus 0 divided by 8. So when I have 0 in here, remember that discriminant thing we did? Where we looked at what was inside of here? If there was a positive number in here, I was going to have 2 solutions. I was going to have to separate it. If I have a 0 in here, I just have to do it once. If I have a negative number in here, my answer is, if I have a negative number underneath here, when I add these together, what would my answer be? Did I take a negative square root? No. So my answer is not 0, no solution. So So be careful on that, okay? It's not 0, it's no solution. It's the words no solution, okay? So, with that said, I've got 12 plus or minus the square root of 0. Do I necessarily need that step? Not really. But if you want to write it down, it's not a bad idea. If this is 0, you don't need to separate it out to be 12 plus 0 divided by 8. You know that 12 plus 0 is 12. Okay? So you don't need to do this. If it helps you, by all means do it. Okay? You're going to get the same answer. But you don't have to do this step. You can simply just do it once. 12 plus 0 is 12. 12 divided by 8. What, do I love this answer? Why not? I don't want a decimal. What do I want? A fraction. But what kind of fraction? What can I do to this fraction? What can I do to both of these numbers? Simplify. Divided by 2. I could divide by 2. Is there a bigger number? 4. So divide by 4 on both of those. I'm going to get 3 over 2. That's my answer. I don't need to do the minus 1 because it's going to give me the same answer. Okay? Don't do more work for yourself, especially when sometimes you mess it up on the minus 1. What? You don't have to. Algebra, we like we like improper fractions in algebra because when we're canceling stuff, we like it to be that. If we have a mixed number, it's hard to cancel stuff. So we actually prefer that in algebra. Okay? Questions on the quadratic formula. Key points again. Key points again. Making sure this is the opposite, this 12. Making sure that this answer to my b squared is positive. Making sure that I multiply this whole thing. Don't necessarily put a subtraction sign right there. If you do put a subtraction sign and you get a negative answer there, then make sure you put a negative answer here, but then remember to do plus plus. Because you'll have a minus and negative. Okay? Questions? There is one other problem there that asks you the discriminant. I don't think we are doing that problem on the final, but we haven't redone our final yet. Or we haven't looked at the final exactly. The discriminant, remember, is just what's underneath the root. It's not the b plus or minus and not the divided by 2a. It's just what's underneath. And there you're deciding do you have one solution, 0 solutions, or one solution, no solutions, or 2 solutions. Okay? You remember how to separate it out? So this part is key. Again, I'm not sure that we're necessarily asking you to find the discriminant itself. We may in the question, like when you get this part done, because this was 0, we may have a line that says how many solutions are you going to have right here. And then you would say 1 because my number under there is 0. So this part right here is important. I would write this down and make sure you know that. Okay? So if it's a negative, it's 0 solutions. If you get a negative under there, your answer is going to be no solution or 0 solutions. Either of those are acceptable. Don't just put 0 down. Okay? Don't put 0 down because 0 is a number. 0 solutions is totally different than the number 0. Okay? Questions on discriminant? Once you get that down. I will tell you at this point in time, literally everybody in this class could pass if they weren't sleeping. Can someone be a friend to him and her, kick them and wake them up? If all of you do well in the final, if all of you actually study, every single person in this classroom will pass this class. I am very proud of that. because you guys have worked really, really, really hard. You've tried hard, you've made corrections where you needed to make corrections, you have great grades in this class. I cannot say that about my fourth art class, which makes me very sad. Very much the opposite. So I want to commend you guys on how you have worked in algebra. I'm really proud of this group of students. So nice job. What about it?
Not good.
Can you give it back to me and then I grade it and see what the answer? Yeah, I can. I'll look for it. Could you send me a message in school that you can remind me to do that? Thank you. What changes about absolute value? Vertex is exactly the same, but my building numbers are 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. So I go over 1, up 1, over 1, up 1, over 1, up 1. Or if it's negative on the outside, I go over 1, down 1, over 1, down 1, over 1, down 1. If there would be a number outside, they're not going to do that to you. But if there would be a number outside, then it would change. But otherwise, it's 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Okay? Questions on absolute value?
Shall I write that one?
Sure. If you want to. Yeah. If you've got, so if this is an x squared problem, that it's in vertex form, and you should get a parabola. If it's got absolute value sticks around it, then you should get a b. Seriously? All right. Do that for homework. Do those problems for homework and let's ask questions tomorrow. We're gonna go over 10 tomorrow and go from there. Yes, it is.